Hi, it's Nick from the Run Testers, and this is our review of the Asics Metaracer. So all four run testers have been running in the shoe in the last couple of weeks, so we're all going to give our thoughts on it. But first we're going to dive into the kind of the key stats and the design of the shoe. When it comes to the key stats, the Metaracer weighs in at 210 grams for this, which is a UK size 9, which is 7.4 ounces. That's notably lighter than the Nike Alphafly and the Saucony Endorphin Pro, which are both around 230 grams. But the old Vaporfly Next Percent is under 200 grams in my size. So, it's not the lightest kind of carbon plate shoe out there. The drop is 9mm from heel to toe, the stack is 24mm at the heel and kind of 19mm at the forefoot, so that's notably lower than, again, something like the Alphafly, which really pushes that 40mm stack height limit set by World Athletics earlier this year. Shoe costs £180 in the UK and $200 in the US. Again, comes in a fair bit cheaper than some of the other options, though the Saucony Endorphin Pro is £190 and the same price, $200 in the US. So the first thing to say about the design is that this is an absolute looker of a shoe. I mean, that is absolutely gorgeous. That colourway, the profile, it's a bit of a far cry away from these, it's fair to say, increasingly ugly high stack shoes that are coming out elsewhere. The upper is a pretty standard mesh upper. It's pretty breathable, it's fairly soft, conforms to the foot nicely. It's pretty narrow around the midfoot, as we'll talk about in the fit, but it's easy to get a lockdown fit and have any problems with rubbing in the toe box. There is this USB port on the front, as Mike calls it. Could be for drainage, it's a bit weird. The midsole is Asics' Flight Foam. So this isn't like a PEVA based foam that's really soft and bouncy like Nike Zoom X or Saucony's Power Run PB. It's more traditional style foam, which should mean it's more durable. It's also very light, it's pretty comfortable, but it's not that kind of really soft foam that you might be used to on other high stack shoes. There's a carbon fibre plate in it, which is under the forefoot of the shoe. It's just from kind of the midfoot onwards, so it's not a full length plate, and it's actually placed under the foam rather than sandwiched in it, so it all creates a slightly different feel to the kind of now standard super shoe design we've seen elsewhere. The midsole also has Asics' guide sole technology, which is seen on shoes like the Evo Ride and the Glide Ride before, which is designed to rock you from heel to toe smoothly and efficiently and kind of stop you losing energy around the ankle joint. On the outsole of the shoe is actually what's turned out to be one of the standout features for me, which is this wet grip rubber, which is about 4 takes me trying to say that. It's pretty decent amount of rubber, it's going to be quite durable, and it really does grip very well in the wet. Like the first kind of run of this was second run of this was like a hard interval session in the pouring rain, and I didn't have any problems with slipping at all. It's really impressive actually, that outsole.
So when it came to fit on the Asics Metaracer, for me, this was a really funny one. They were really uncomfortable. When I first put them on, I thought, I don't even want to go and run in them. And then over the miles, they sort of became really comfortable. Such a strange thing. That said, one of the reasons I found them uncomfortable is I found them really quite tight across this kind of midsection of the foot. I've got big kind of wide feet, and actually I found that really sort of clamped down and a little bit uncomfortable, and actually I found them long then in the toe, so it's almost like they were too long in the toe, too big, but too small across the top of the foot. So maybe that's just my foot shape, or maybe that's how these shoes are actually built. When I first put them on, I thought it was going to be a problem. Once I was running in them, that all went away, and actually this middle bit kind of flexed quite nicely, and I really found them quite comfortable to run in. I'm a big fan of sort of having sort of quite minimal collars. There's just enough cushioning here to make that sort of feel comfortable around the Achilles.
So this was an 8.5. Now I race and run in an 8, but I have used 8.5 as well, and generally it's not been a major issue. So I had a couple of small things like on the first couple of runs, and I was getting a bit of numbness on the kind of my bigger toe. I think it's more to the fact there's a little bit more space in that toe box than I would probably like. But after that, it wasn't really an issue, and it didn't feel ridiculous to run in any kind of sense. It's a very narrow shoe, but I've got quite narrow feet, so I didn't have a real problem with that.
For me, the Metaracer fit was fine. It is a narrow shoe. I don't have particularly wide feet, so when you first put your feet in, you do think this is quite a thin shoe. My toe did push out slightly, my little toe on the side of the shoe. Wasn't an issue because the fabric's quite soft and doesn't really rub. But if you've got wider feet, you're probably going to have a problem with these shoes because they are quite thin.
So, like everyone else, I found the fit a bit weird on this shoe. It's very long and thin. I have quite a narrow foot, so didn't really have any problems with my normal size around the midfoot, but I did find that I had a little bit of extra space in the toe box. I could probably have gone half a size down, but just to get a slightly tighter fit at the front, and it wouldn't have bothered me around the midfoot. But I think a lot of people will have to stay true to size just because it's so narrow around here that if you do get a slightly closer fit in the toe box, you're going to end up too narrow around the midfoot.
So I've done about 50k in the Metaracer so far, and it's an interesting shoe because in a year where every other shoe being released is a carbon plated shoe, this doesn't actually, you can't really compare this with something like the Vaporfly or the Fuel Cell TC because it doesn't feel like those shoes. It has a carbon plate in it, but it doesn't feel bouncy. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of extra cushioning in there to give you energy return. It just feels like a fast, lightweight running shoe. And if you just class it as a fast, lightweight running shoe, it's very good when you're going to do speed racing, speed running. It feels great. It's lightweight. You can pick up the pace quite nicely, but it just doesn't have that kind of energy return or noticeable effect from having a carbon plate. I ran in these from 5k to about 15k, and they're fine at a faster pace. I think they'd be a great shoe for any distance up until half a marathon for me. I think they're probably a little bit too lightweight for a marathon. For me, they just don't have that sort of cushioning that I would like when doing a marathon. But I had no discomfort. I thought they were completely comfortable when running in them. I didn't really notice them when I was running in them, which goes against what you probably expect from a carbon plated shoe, but also doesn't make it a bad shoe.
So I've done 80k in the Metaracer, and that's kind of been split up with two kind of interval track style sessions done on the road, two kind of tempo runs, and then a long 15-mile run which was done at a fairly easy pace. That last one is really not what the shoe excels at. I'll say that quickly. If you're running slow, it doesn't feel that comfortable, it doesn't feel like propulsive or anything, so it's a shoe for fast runs. And I would say the speed sessions in particular were where it really excelled. So the first one was kind of 400s and 800s done in the pouring rain. It was my standout, impression of the shoe then was just how well it gripped. To be honest, I couldn't really get too much of an idea for speed then. It was flooded pavements. It was a bit of a nightmare. But fair, I had a reasonably good session, but didn't really take away too much about the shoe. But then today I actually did another interval session, just a pretty box standard 60 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 20 times, and it really came to life for me actually in the dry. I did feel you're getting a little bit extra kind of propulsion and cushioning from this compared to a standard racing flat. It's nothing like the level of like the Vaporfly or even the Endorphin Pro, which is a very smooth rolling design. You don't get that kind of soft bounce and kick through from the plate, but it does feel pretty smooth and it definitely feels really quick. I will say though, like on those tempo runs, I was kind of doing the first half easy, then the second half, hardish, both about an hour long, and my legs were a lot more beat up and I felt a bit harder to hold my kind of normal tempo pace in this shoe compared to something like the Endorphin Pro or one of Nike shoes, or even probably the New Balance TC actually, which is more of a training shoe. It's heavier, but it has got that soft and bouncy feel. For me, I think I prefer that a little bit more as soon as I'm running a bit longer. But when it comes to all-out speed, I don't think the Metaracer loses too much compared to those shoes. I think it's more about, I feel a bit more economical in my running in those kind of higher stake shoes, and I'm certainly more protected for the kind of longer distance run. For me, I'd probably restrict this to speed sessions, which I think I will be using it for now. I think I'm going to keep it in my rotation. It's really nice to use for speed shoes, for speed sessions. I probably would, 5k and 10k race. I think I could run a marathon this hard and do it well, but I think I prefer, personally, a higher stack, more cushion shoe. I think I get more from them in terms of the economy benefits and just the extra kind of freshness in your legs at the end of a marathon. This is more kind of cushioned than a racing flat, but I don't think it's cushioned enough for me as a runner.
Okay, so the run test. So I've done probably close to 60 miles in these now. Overriding feeling is, this is built for speed, and that's what it's designed for. It's designed for races. But when I try to run those slow, longer miles, it just doesn't let you do that. Which if you're looking for something that's a kind of can cater to a lot of different running sessions. I don't think it really fits that profile. In terms of that speed and generating that speed, I think it's not an explosive kind of sensation when you're running with these shoes. I think I would kind of describe it as kind of gentle, quite purposeful in terms of the rock that you get in the shoe to promote that speed. It did get me. I did feel I was running quicker in these. Definitely in the kind of shorter distances that I was doing. And generally an okay shoe. I don't think didn't feel amazing, to run in. I felt, it felt very, very good. Not, just didn't blow me away in terms of what I got from it.
I wasn't blown away by these actually when I put them on. They are nice, they're light, they're fast enough. I really like quite a light shoe, and these sort of fit my bill for that, but actually you don't get any, that carbon plate and that foam combination isn't anywhere near as pronounced as you'll get with something like a Vaporfly. And yeah, for me actually, they didn't feel sort of that incredible in that way. That's something we've sort of come to accept a little bit with carbon races. You put them on and you sort of feel this sort of impulse to run, or this compulsion and this kind of propulsion forward. All the Ultions, we feel all the Ultions with the carbon plates, but there's no Ultion with these. They were nice enough. And I would definitely use them for something like a track session. If I want to go fast on the track doing intervals, 400s, 800s, I think these would be a really nice shoe for that purpose. Over sort of a short 10k on the road, great. I don't think that I would be keen to run a marathon in these. I think they're a little bit too sort of minimal. I don't think they actually had that sort of zip feeling that you'll get with a Vaporfly, and I don't think they would replace my Vaporfly as a race shoe as a result.
I think the Metaracer's biggest problem isn't the Metaracer itself. This is a good shoe. I think it's just what else is on the market right now. I think if you're just going to invest in one kind of super shoe, which most people I guess probably would, my money would go towards one of the Nikes. The Alphafly probably is my favourite, or the Saucony Endorphin Pro. I think they're slightly more versatile, and certainly as I tend to focus more on the marathon and half marathon races, those are better shoes for that, in my opinion, certainly for me as a runner. But I think I don't want to downplay how good a shoe this is for speed sessions. Like I say, I would probably make it my number one track shoe kind of for now, and I'd love to run a 5k in this fast as well. So I think it's a new option in that kind of realm of carbon plate super shoes. I prefer the kind of extra pallet cushioning myself, but I think a lot of runners who are used to racing flats haven't really made that tradition to something like the Vaporfly. This is a really good in-between option. It might be more to your taste. It's kind of so absurd looking. It's it's a fairly traditional shoe. It doesn't have a particularly out there crazy ride either. It feels quite like a traditional shoe done very well, which is similar to the Saucony. I think I just give the Saucony the edge. I think it's more efficient, more economical. And when we did our comparison video, I think it was a lot clearer to me that I preferred the Saucony. It's a bit tighter for me now, having done another good session in the Asics, but I still think the Saucony would be my choice of the two, and they're quite similar in price. And I think the Saucony is more versatile. I think you can use it for more kinds of training runs if you're going to use it for that. And I think it's a better racer for long distances, and it's just as good over 5k, 10k. So I think that's the Asics' problem. This is probably one of the fastest shoes, great shoes out there. It's just there are so many really good shoes out there right now that it's up against stiff competition.
So should you buy this or should you buy something else? Well, I think if you're looking for a marathon or a half marathon race shoe, I think there are better shoes out there. We've mentioned some of them already. We're talking about the kind of Nike Vaporflies. We're talking about the Saucony Endorphin Pro. If you're looking for a faster, shorter distance shoe, I think this is a compelling option, although a pricier one. And actually, I think another option that you might want to bring this into comparison with is something like the Adidas SL20. It's not as light. It's arguably not as kind of airy and breathable. It's a bit more sort of tight and there's a bit more shoe around the foot than you'll get with this. But actually they'll do a similar job on the track and over those short runs. And the SL20 is only £100, so a nice cheap option to compare this one with. And having said all of that, I do think that these are probably my favourite Asics shoes that I've ever run in. To me, they're almost like a little bit more of a stripped down, turbocharged version of the Evo Ride, which again is quite a sort of pared back shoe. So a million miles away from some of the other really sort of big kind of shoes that you'll get with Asics, and it's definitely a step in the right direction. It's not as impressive as some of the other top flagship carbon shoes we've had, but actually it's generally quite a nice shoe.
If the Metaracer was a £120 shoe that didn't have a carbon plate, I would say it's a great shoe for racing and speed training. At £180, it's a lot of money for a shoe that is probably comparable with non-carbon plate shoes. I've got shoes that don't have a carbon plate in, cost £110, and are actually probably giving you the same kind of feel, the same kind of benefits that you're going to get from the Metaracer. If you're a big fan of Asics, you like their designs, then it's a good option maybe if you're just looking for a race shoe and you're not looking for the kind of bounce or energy return that you get from a Vaporfly. It is fast, it does the job, it's not a training shoe, you'd only use this for races. I've done a couple of slow runs in these and I really didn't enjoy it. It's just not designed for that. But if you're after a fast race shoe, you're happy to pay £180 for it, it's a good shoe. It does the job, and you could probably get some nice fast times in this. I'd say that an equivalent for me, if you didn't want to specifically go for a carbon plated shoe like Vaporfly, would be something like the New Balance Rebel or Kinvara 11 Saucony, or even the Adidas SL20s. They do feel quite. You'll get a very similar experience from those shoes as you will with this. They obviously don't have carbon plates, but they do come in significantly cheaper.
I mean, generally for me, I've enjoyed kind of running with it. Let's say it's not that versatile shoe where you can run a variety of different sessions. It is built for speed, and that's kind of what it's designed for. It's not an amazing run, you know. You can feel it's a good run, and it's interesting. I think distances I would run with this. I think 5k, 10k, half marathon. This feels like a great shoe for that. Marathon, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure if it sits. It's a great fit for that, but shorter distances, I think it's a great option. It'll probably stick around in my quiver to reference Nick of my shoes. I think I will also use it for speed stuff. But you could probably get a more versatile shoe because this one doesn't, it's not a one shoe that fits all sessions. Generally good, not groundbreaking, I don't think, but a solid enough shoe for kind of the quicker stuff, I'd say.
So that's it, that's our review of the Asics Metaracer. Let us know in the comments below if you have any more questions about the shoe or if you'd like it compared to any other shoes. And do like, subscribe and ring the little bell so you get notified next time we launch a video. Thanks.